Hello, everyone. Welcome and happy holidays. It's Lady Trinette. I'm so glad that you could join me for today's lecture. When we think about the Gilded Age, especially the holiday season, of the Gilded Age, we think about the Rockefellers and these magnificent mansions like at the Breakers, and look how beautiful the decorations are. But did you know that during that time period, there was black people who were also wealthy who celebrated Christmas and the holidays too? Now, history would want you to believe that black people were enslaved and only were happy and celebrated during the Christmas season, and they were able to dance. But not only dance, they danced for the whole week of Christmas. Well, that was during slavery and the antebellum period, and that was mostly during a time that the South allowed slaves to do that. And the food being served was from the best cooks, and the best cooks still exist today. Now, most of us think about the cooking in that time period around hog mog and greens and the traditional, what we think of today as soul food. And certainly those types of foods were also being served. But for the black elite, they too celebrated Christmas with beautiful decorations and tables set out for kings and queens. Most of these people became wealthy because they were doctors, attorneys, business owners, politicians, in all kinds of careers that began to blossom during that time period. And of course, the Gilded Age ended in 1900, so it happened between about the 1870s and the 1900s. And so this is when you saw this rise of elite blacks, and they were also educators. We got a glimpse into that life in the HBO show, The Gilded Age. And we also followed that up with Hunter's Point here on Royal Black and Elite. And that was an audiobook. So if you're looking for great audiobooks to just lie down to or ride to or even cling to, click down below. I've left a link there for you to check it out. But as I said, we know about the soul food of that time period. So even the elite blacks served this type of food. Black-eyed peas, greens, and sweet potatoes. I mean, listen, I don't care how rich you are, all of these are appropriate for anybody's table. So they serve those types of things. But also in New Orleans and in the Caribbeans, other people so the black people were, of course, from Africa, but they were dispersed all over the world. And in the Caribbean island in Louisiana, they brought their own flavor. So that's where you have this, Creole. You also have Ethiopian food. How many of y'all like Ethiopian food? So you see greens here. You see the egg and the mixture there. So if you like Ethiopian soul food or Ethiopian food, those things began to be introduced way back during that time period. So black people, they were beginning to be wealthy, and they were beginning to actually get a few, cookbooks, and people began to know who they were. So I wanted to cover a few chefs really quickly. One was the first book ever written, black by a black woman or black man, anybody, as a cookbook was Melinda Russell, and she was a pastry and domestic chef. And I wanted to drop her name, but she wasn't known for like the royal elite cooking, but she was the first person to write a cookbook. And they used to cook in kitchens like this. Can you imagine? See, so we are blessed, y'all, these days nowadays. But did you know a black man created the creme brulee? I thought this was so interesting. So, James Hemings was Thomas Jefferson's cook, and he introduced many of the fine, wonderful eating that we get today. So, creme brulee, macaroni and cheese, and French fries. And I'm not saying he invented them, but he brought them to America. Another great cook was Hiram S. Thomas, and he was a professional career cook, and he was a black culinary master. We even had a man named Hercules. He was George Washington's cook, and he cooked for the finest dignitaries and royalties. But he kind of lost, well, let's put it like this. Nobody knew of him after he ran away. So he ran away from George Washington. But I'm sure he kept on cooking wherever he went. And then lastly, Rufus Estes. And he published the book Good Things to Eat in 1911. And he also had sophisticated dishes. Now listen, I love to cook. If you want me to try any of these recipes, let me know out of any of these books. And had you heard of any of them? Did you know a black man brought macaroni and cheese to America? Now you would think as much as other races of people eat macaroni and cheese, you would think they created it. But no, it was us. So I'm very proud to bring this to you and a little glimpse of what the elite blacks ate during the Gilded Age during the holiday season. Now, when you sat down at the table, this is what you may have dined on. A little oysters on the half shell or some oyster stew and champagne. You may have eaten a little turtle soup or consomme as your second dish, the second course. Your third course would be a roast, some kind of roasted something or other. Most of the time, look at this lamb or this duck. Y'all, can you imagine dinner being served like this nowadays? I would be so honored. Glazed ham and fruit preserves, of course. That's where we get a lot of our meals today. They also had game meat such as venison or quail. Quail is delicious. I've had that. I don't care for venison very much. Put it down below. Have you eaten venison? Do you like it? My people love to eat venison sausage and all that. I can't get down with it. And seasonal vegetables, and they would be prepared like in butter and cream. We'd also have a fish course, usually some type of salmon covered in hollandaise sauce. Then you'd have your fresh rolls, your puddings, and you would clean your palate after each course with a palate cleanser, usually some form of sorbet. And then this sweets. Now back then they had all kinds of sweets, puddings and pies and just everything, custards and cakes, and they love this pudding plum cake. Would you serve this today? Y'all listen, this plum cake looks, I don't know if I should say appetizing. I don't know. Would you eat this? And of course, on every or a lot of rich tables, you would also see truffles in some form. So, black chefs defined elite dining. They were the ones who served all of this beautiful food, cream, spinach, and the like. And they not only served it, but they also sat down with their families to enjoy it as black people were striking out and doing well during the Gilded Age. So I thank you all for joining me for another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. Do you all serve any of these? Would you eat that turtle soup? I don't know about that turtle soup. Well, as you know, all of my lectures are for educational entertainment purposes only, and the Fair Act use is in my description. And also, if you want to learn more, definitely click down below. You would be shocked at how many black people who were wealthy during the Gilded Age. I want to wish you a very happy holidays and thank you for spending some of your time with me today. Now, don't forget, hit like, share, and subscribe. And leave your comments. Tell me about what you're serving this holiday season. Thank you for watching another great episode of Royal Black and Elite.